But let's start here at the quarterback position. I know, Frank, you typically have more than I do. I did have 3 names here. No one that's really kind of, setting the world on fire or anything like that, but just maybe 3 names more so like in Superflex that you'd be looking out for that, did pretty well this week. But do you have anyone else you see on the board, or you want to talk about any of these 3 that I threw up here?
Well, I would just mention Justin Herbert because he's not very much owned. I don't see him on there, and maybe even possibly throw the hat in for Daniel Jones. Or he's throwing up some numbers lately, actually. So it's kind of crazy. But just this last game here, got 21 to 34 passing for Justin Herbert, 237 yards, 1 touchdown. Give you 21 fantasy points on the week here. And then we also have, again, as I was mentioning, Daniel Jones, which is kind of crazy even just to say that. Like, I'm like, oh my, blah, blah. But, in deeper leagues or whatnot, if you need him, everybody's on the bye. He did produce 22 fantasy points this last outing against Cincinnati on a tough game there, 22 of 41, 205 yards, no touchdowns, 119. But he did, again, the yardage was there, and it was just a tough game. He's playing Philadelphia next, so we'll see how that goes. But just 2 other guys that I, want to throw in there. Who do you got, man?
There you go. So you said that was Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. He's at 39% right now.
And I have about 45 on Sleeper.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. And Daniel Jones. All right, good stuff. So the 3 I had were kind of 2 that were making their NFL debuts. Drake May, he's only 15% rostered. I think came out and finished as the what was it? QB. I think he was like QB 11 or so this week. Threw for 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think he's the first quarterback to throw for like 3 touchdowns in a game, I think, since Tom Brady, but don't hold me to that stat. But it's definitely been, a while. Looked okay. Have to go back and, really watch the game film on it. 5 carries for 38 yards also on the ground. So we know he can, use his legs and escape the pocket. And was able to kind of, give Houston, a little run for their money. Got away from him, there towards the end. But, fantasy wise, not a bad day, 25.52 in a 6-point per passing touchdown league. So Drake May, someone just to kind of keep your eyes on. Another guy I had also making his NFL debut, Spencer Rattler for the New Orleans Saints. He came in and had 40 attempts, completed 22 of them, also for 243 yards, only 1 touchdown, did have 2 picks. Also was able to use his legs, 4 for 27 on the ground. Did have 5 sacks, only scored 14.42 points. But, just someone to kind of keep an eye out for if you are looking for a QB here during these bye weeks, someone to fill in, again, in those Superflex or 2 QB leagues. He could be someone that, could potentially put some points up for you. So definitely keep your eye out for Spencer Rattler, only 9% owned here on Sleeper. So make sure you go check him out. The other guy, rookie, also, but he's been playing since the beginning. But quietly, his last couple games, he's been putting up some decent numbers, and that's going to be Bo Nix. He's coming in right now at 21% rostered. Ends up the week with 24.71 points after coming off a 27.14 point game against the Raiders. He puts this up against the Chargers, going 19 for 33, 216, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Also got it going on the ground, 6 carries for 61 yards. He had 8 attempts last week and 5 the previous week, another 9 before that. So he can use his legs as well too. And we know what we say, about these running quarterbacks. They definitely can, put up some points. So again, scoring, 24 points off nice completions and 2 touchdowns and a pick, isn't bad. Again, gets New Orleans coming up here on Thursday, gets Carolina after that, Baltimore, Kansas City. So could be in some shootouts. We'll see if he continues to improve, but someone to keep an eye on. So Drake May, Spencer Rattler, and Bo Nix are who I have as my potential waiver wire ads here in week 7.
I think we do need to mention one more guy in here,
Let's do it.
and that's Caleb Williams. I'm just checking the ownership over here on
He's too high
Sleeper.
on.
No, because looking at this website here, Yahoo's just 69, but ESPN is only 50%.
Oh, okay.
I
So
know that. I
ESPN
know. I
is
want to
also-
mention him because I even dropped him because I had him originally, and he was just like bombing right off the bat. Things are, just wasn't looking good. But now he's come back as of late because he had a 7.2 points, 9.4, had almost a 20-point game. Then he came back down to earth with 11 points. But the last 2 outings, he's in the 20 plus points for his team there and his fantasy points. So he might still be out there. Just to mention that at him, he ended up 23 of 29 for 226 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Obviously, it was the big game of the week here, whatnot. But I mean,
54 on the ground
like,
too.
he's close enough on the fringe that I think we should mention, obviously, because he was like the big quarterback, just in case he might be out there. So,
Yeah, and he is on a bye week this week, so you may be able to hold off. Maybe you can get him after waivers run. Yeah, 67% owned here on Sleeper, which is why he didn't quite make that 65%, but definitely worth an honorable mention. So well said there, Frank, helping the folks